Hello, and welcome to a special bonus episode of the Leader Generation podcast. I'm Cheryl Beam, a sometimes co-host and an all-the-time support behind the scenes. We recently recorded an upcoming episode of Leader Generation with Lauren Rothwell, who is the CEO and co-founder of Blaze. Sometimes the most interesting conversations we have with our guests happen before or even after our planned interview. And in this case, we had just finished the interview with Lauren, but we kept recording. And we had a casual, unplanned conversation with her about artificial intelligence and machine learning, and how companies are finally starting to understand how to use this technology to bring value to their business. It was such a good conversation that we wanted to share it with you. Just keep in mind that the conversation does start a little abruptly since it was impromptu. And also make sure you check out the upcoming planned interview with Lauren Rothwell, because it is another one you just don't want to miss. Here you go.
Do you kind of what kinds of talks have you been doing on these podcasts?
We've been talking about AI and machine learning for a while. Now with GPT, it just blew up, because before it felt like speaking into a vacuum.
Yeah. So we're probably getting a lot more hits on those. Yeah, no, it's super interesting. Like there's gonna be a lot of use cases. I mean, we're already like using it. It's pretty easy to deploy, which means like probably there'll be a lot of software tools that do it. And so I think overall, like it will be a lot about like the lock-in and like what else do they do and like what is the user experience, because ultimately the technology is kind of, it's there to do a lot of this. So yeah, it's interesting.
And it's funny you say that. Cheryl and I have been saying that for gosh darn stinking years, is that it's really interesting that the technology has been there for a while. Cheryl tested a few different tools against ChatGPT and found that one was the most effective. But it is also the user experience and the ability to market that product in a way that people understand. Where I feel like that's what was missing earlier on, and what kind of led to that we're speaking into a vacuum feeling was like we got so much feedback, like we really don't understand what you're talking about. I'm like, what?
Yeah, but now they do, because everyone went on ChatGPT-3, and there was like, I think Jasper AI was one of the big ones, and then they were actually using OpenAI's, like basically the ChatGPT-3 has been like available via API for businesses. It's just been quite expensive, I think. And so people don't really, haven't really tried it out. And then they were freaking out when ChatGPT came out, because they were like, oh no, like you've just completely made our product redundant. But now that they're charging again, I think actually it's all good, and OpenAI is still partnering pretty closely with the businesses themselves, because they probably see that as more scalable anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just, like you said, like Jasper and Phrase.io and Persado, and it's been around, but I think with Chat GPT, it's just the user interface is so simple that is what made it more mainstream and what people gravitated to. I mean, I think the capabilities are stronger in some of those other platforms. I feel like it's just that ease of use, that makes ChatGPT so popular.
Yeah, totally. Are you guys helping customers with that already, or it's like a new area of business that you're kind of looking to market?
Yeah. We're helping them already. We had a couple of really forward-thinking clients last year. We were able to do pilots and sort of show the difference between AI and machine learning campaigns and processes versus without. Yeah. And now I just feel like that conversation just got a heck of a lot easier. And especially when we can point to some use cases and scale it, it'll be easier. But there also the other piece, what I think ChatGPT did that was really smart is it was free at first, where when we were putting tooling in methodologies with clients, there's an upfront investment. If you're modeling off pure data, there's an upfront investment of a ton of time and then engineering. And then if you're using a tool out of the box, well, they're trying to build a business. So there's like a really short free trial, but they're, machine learning in general takes time to really learn. And this was for campaign things. The natural language processing algorithm is obviously a lot more, is faster. But I do think that this being free and really publicized publicly as something cool to try and not set behind a price model or a trial that doesn't last long enough for anyone to prove anything out, went a long way. And now it makes the investments to use machine learning AI not look as big. Where before clients were like, well, I was paying $500 a month, or this was free because we were just doing it. I already have people doing it, So now we don't have to battle against I already have people, quote unquote, doing it.
Yeah.
Free to try has been the best marketing for just parts of the industry. I remember it's probably February 2020, to put a very bold stamp on when this happened. There was the tool going around that would colorize black and white photography using machine learning. And it got better every day, to the point where, I started off and by the end, you're like, this just looks like an old photograph. And that's like, oh, this isn't scary. And this isn't my memory of like a Turner Classic movie where it's been a colorized black and white movie. You're like, oh, this is naturalistic. It's not kind of weird. And, oh, what do you know? Over the last few years, we've been seeing, AI upscaling, color correction, all of these become tool sets that aren't scary because it's like, no, it's doing a good job.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, exciting times ahead. We'll see if everyone is using it soon. I wouldn't want to be a copywriter, let's put it that way.
You're the copywriter.
Yeah.
Trick we've seen,
but you're away, it's
the trick we've seen with brands so far is, at least in my experience, not to speak globally, is brands want to have a sense of what it's been trained on, and usually something. So the work for hire is, oh, this copywriter has done all of this and it's been trained on their copy or our copy team, whatever, so that we could guarantee that this isn't journalist XYZ and it's going to just spit out a line that you're like, that's plagiarism.
Yeah. That's true. And that, it's the right tone of voice and everything. Like there'll always be a review, right? Like, I don't think people are just going to be like, hey, just like automatically post to our Twitter or anything. Like there has to be a review. So that's also, that makes sense.
Yeah. Look, the one thing when Cheryl and I were talking about how it gives her superpowers is every brand we work on wants to emote something different. And different for an email versus a tweet versus their copy. And that's where like that human element comes in. And Cheryl was saying like how we were doing some subject lines in an email and she put in some ideas and got a bunch back. And she sort of took ideas from it to make, the 2 to 3 that we were actually going to test, but with the right on-brand emotions that, people respond to and she can explain to the client. But it saves time. I mean, and Cheryl knows, I've never been a writer. I'm terrible. So I'm really excited. And I don't even trust myself to go to the finished product though. I like the options.
Yeah.
What it makes me think about an interesting thing when you think about time saving is when, we talk about multi-channel social and you're like, well, our Twitter, our Insta, on our Facebook are all, similar but different users. And they are similar but different audiences. So we want to craft different messaging to go out, associated with the same content. It's like, here's this video I made, but it's going to be let's throw in LinkedIn just for fun. Like having to write 4 different but the same pieces of social copy.
Yeah, sure.
When you're doing a month out, there was a point in time where we were pumping out like roughly 65 pieces per month across multiple channels, and you're just hitting a wall.
Yeah.
That's an amazing use case for it. Cause like I've been testing a lot of different things. And one was like, I took a paragraph I had written for, I don't know, website or something. And then was like, all right, shorten this to, I think it was LinkedIn, shorten this to 150, characters. And it got me pretty close. I still had to tweak it, and then, shorten this for whatever. And so it definitely adds efficiency. What does scare me is that there's people that think that it's the end all be all solution and writers are not obsolete. And that is not the case at all, because like we were saying, every brand has its own voice and very specific characteristics or brand guidelines or whatever. And it takes a person to understand all of those things and understand what audience it's for and how this audience is different than this one. And I was actually just working on something where it was multiple emails, but there was different personas we were targeting. So like, one was this age group, one was, this set of people, and machine just doesn't understand all those nuances. So
any of the tools you tried like Jasper and Phrase and the likes, did they like help with that? Like you put something in, they'll give it to you in like 5 different formats. It's more that you couldn't maybe post from there.
Yeah, you can. And that's another thing. You have to understand what those right prompts are. To give you the response that you're looking for.
Yeah.
And if you don't understand that and have that knowledge of like the clients and everything, you're not going to get, the output. It's kind of like the whole garbage in, garbage out, So.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I feel like eventually we'll probably add more integrations and like we'll have some of the tooling first. We're like, oh, maybe that's a good product feature for us. Just like do it across the platforms, but probably not super imminent anyway.
One of the things we talked about last time we talked Discord that I should have brought up here, where this gets interesting is right with Blaze, you're giving tools to moderators. Mm-hmm. You're not automating moderation. Because once you automate moderation, it just becomes Facebook.
Yeah.
Right. That's a really good point. Don't worry, what just happened here is another podcast episode. So.
Yeah.
We're going to chop this into 2. There's going to be our first one with analytics and Discord and Blaze, and then this half, which is exploring AI and machine learning and platforms and for people and giving them superpowers or something that Cheryl will write.
Yeah.
Fear of the robot future ?
Awesome.
All right.
Cool. See you guys later.
Thank you. See you later. Bye.
Bye.
Much.